It's July 18th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour, starting with the latest on the monsoon rain here in South Korea. A total of 41 people have died, with 9 people still missing here in the country. An investigation has been launched to find the cause of the flooded underground tunnel in Osong. The inaugural meeting of South Korea and the U.S. Nuclear Consultative Group is taking place in Seoul today. Information sharing and joint planning to deter North Korea's nuclear threats will be among the agenda items. The deal that allows Ukraine to safely export grain via the Black Sea has officially expired. Wheat and corn prices soared on the news, and the UN chief expressed deep regret over Russia pulling out. The number of people dead or missing as a result of this year's devastating monsoon has reached 50 now. And authorities have begun an investigation into the cause of the tunnel flooding that killed 14 people on Saturday. Our Shin Ha-young reports.
Torrential rainfall during this year's monsoon season has resulted in lost lives and damage to infrastructure. According to the latest data from the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters, as of 6 a.m. Tuesday, nationwide, 41 people have died and 9 are still missing as a result of the recent weather. In addition, 35 people have been injured, while over 12,000 have evacuated their homes for safety, and the monsoon season is not over yet. At the site of the flooded underpass in Osong in Cheongju City, Chungcheongbuk-do Province, one more body was recovered, bringing the death toll from that flash flood event rising to at least 14 at 8:10 p.m. on Monday. Search and rescue efforts inside the tunnel came to an end on Monday night. However, considering that the most recently recovered body was found in a grassy area near the tunnel, the authorities plan to continue the search outside the tunnel, such as along riverbank and in fields. The Office for Government Policy Coordination announced on Monday that they have started an investigation to determine the cause of the tragic incident in Osong. Authorities confirmed that 1 to 2 hours before the tragedy took place, there were 2 emergency calls to 112 requesting the emergency evacuation of residents and emergency control of the underground tunnel. Landslides have also been a cause for concern during this monsoon season, with 7 related deaths in total recorded in Gyeongsangbuk-do Province, while 3 died in Chungcheongnam-do Province due to landslides. Nationwide, 195 landslides were reported between July 6 and July 17th, mainly in Chungcheongnam-do, Jeollabuk-do, and Gyeongsangbuk-do provinces. Over 230 houses have been destroyed or submerged, and more than 740 public facilities, including roads and bridges, have been damaged. Agricultural damage is also severe, with over 26,000 hectares of farmland flooded. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
For swift recovery from the rain damage, President Yoon urged all possible resources to be mobilized. Now, that includes declaring special disaster zones to free up more government funds. Kim Do-yeon reports.
As soon as he returned home from his week-long overseas trip, President Yoon Suk-yeol on Monday chaired a Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters meeting and called for regions hit especially hard by the monsoon rain to be classed as special disaster zones.
복구 작업과 재난 피해에 대한 지원 역시 신속하게 이루어져야 하고 특별 재난 지역 선포 등 정책 수단을 모두 동원하여 후속 조치를 신속하게 추진해 주기 바랍니다.
If a region is designated as a special disaster zone, the central government guarantees financial support for its recovery efforts. Yoon, meanwhile, said all possible resources have to be mobilized, including the military and the police. This is his second monsoon season since taking office, and he experienced serious rain-related incidents last year. As a president, he showed his discontent with the disaster response, saying areas exposed to such dangers were not managed well before the rainfall.
위험 지역에 대한 진입 통제와 또 위험 지역으로부터의 선제적 대피를 작년부터 거듭 강조하고 있습니다마는 현장에서 재난 대응의 기본 원칙이 지켜지지 않는다면 국민의 안전을 확보하기 어렵습니다.
As the nation is expecting more heavy rain in the next few days, Yoon called for the authorities to take on the situation with extraordinary alertness. He also added that the mindset of disaster prevention has to be completely reset as climate change has made heavy rainfall to be routine. Following the meeting, he took time to visit Yecheon of Gyeongsangbuk-do province, where a landslide took at least 9 lives and as of Monday afternoon, around 10 are still missing. He was briefed by the county chief and took time to visit a temporary shelter for those who had their homes submerged by mud and rocks.
식사 좀 잘 하시면서 정부에서 다 복구해드리고 다 할 테니까 너무 걱정하지 마십시오. 네.
In the meantime, the spokesperson for the top office said in a written statement that during the disaster response meeting, President Yoon called for public servants working in safety to go out there and see for themselves and what should be done, especially considering that rain is expected to continue for the next few days as well. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The torrential downpours that swept South Korea have not only taken away innocent lives, but also scarred the livelihoods of the people and put added pressure on the local economy. For more on this season's deadly monsoon, let's turn to Professor Lee Seo-hyun this morning. Welcome to the program.
Hi.
The torrential downpours that pounded the country have resulted in the deaths of 41 people, right? Now, there's also been devastation in terms of people losing homes and property. What's the economic loss from the rain, if we can even calculate that in numbers? I mean, how do natural disasters like this affect the country's economy?
Yeah, although the government started probing the sites early on to estimate the damages from the recent heavy monsoon rains, the full extent of the damage and economic cost is not yet known. Typically, the economic cost from natural disasters includes damages to cars, houses, and public facilities such as river embankments, roads, and bridges. It also accounts for the damages to crops in case of flooding. According to yearly statistics of natural disasters, the costs from natural disasters are estimated to be 0.4 trillion won on average since 2010.
That is a huge number, but I'm sure that could be as big as that number this time, considering the monsoon season has been quite long this year. Now, President Yoon Suk-yeol has also ordered the mobilization of all available resources and policy measures to deal with the aftermath of the downpours. Now, one measure is designating special disaster zones, right? Why is it necessary even to designate areas, the so-called special disaster zones?
Yeah, a disaster declaration can quickly authorize the support programs such as providing short-term relief and recovery of the affected area. The state or local governments can provide special administrative, fiscal, financial, and medical support necessary for the emergency responses. The declaration also enables the states to fully or partially subsidize the expenses incurred to local governments.
All right, Professor Lee Seo-hyun, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We appreciate it. Seoul and Washington will hold their first meeting today of a nuclear dialogue channel to bolster the allies' deterrence against North Korea's growing nuclear and missile capabilities. Now, the first session takes place here in Seoul. Our top office correspondent, Oh Soo-young, has more.
South Korea and the United States are launching a bilateral dialogue forum to coordinate their nuclear response to North Korea's growing security threat. The Nuclear Consultative Group kicks off this Tuesday in Seoul with the first quarterly meeting to address information sharing, consultation mechanisms, joint planning and execution of nuclear deterrence against North Korea.
The meeting will be held as part of the implementation of the Washington Declaration, and we expect it to bolster the execution capacity of extended deterrence between the ROK and the US.
White House Deputy Press Secretary Sabina Singh also said on Monday that the goal of the meeting was to start implementing the Washington Declaration, which was signed by Presidents Yoon and Joe Biden in April. This came after North Korea launched an unprecedented number of missile tests last year, and experts warned that a seventh nuclear test could be imminent. Amid growing concern over the North's fast-evolving capabilities, and with recent public opinion surveys finding over 70% feeling the need for South Korea to develop its own nuclear weapons, Seoul and Washington agreed in April to bolster their joint capabilities and confidence in executing Washington's extended deterrence policy of defending allies who fall under conventional or nuclear attack. While Seoul does not have nuclear weapons, the NCG would ensure its participation in Washington's nuclear planning and operation process, differentiating the group from other dialogue bodies such as the Extended Deterrence Strategy and Consultation Group. This could help reduce strategic gaps and response time in nuclear crises, bolstering credibility and cohesiveness between the two allies. While critics say the NCG falls short of nuclear sharing, or shared control of US assets, such as under NATO's own arrangement with Washington, others deem it an important window into Washington's planning and decision-making. Underscoring its importance, the NCG talks have been upgraded to the level of vice ministers, with Principal Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-ho and White House Indo-Pacific Coordinator Kurt Campbell co-hosting the session on Tuesday. Osu-young, Arirang News.
Washington says it's open to talks with Pyongyang without any preconditions, adding that the discussions could be on any topic. According to a U.S. State Department spokesperson speaking to Yonhap News Agency on the condition of anonymity on Monday, discussions could include steps that both sides could take to improve the security situation on the Korean Peninsula. The spokesperson stressed that diplomacy is the only viable path forward. Now, the comments come after the North Korean leader's sister Kim Yo-jong said Monday that the U.S. offer to meet without any preconditions is only a trick. Russia has officially backed out of the UN-brokered Black Sea Grain Initiative. Now, what was designed to avert a global food crisis is now prompting global concerns about food price hikes and shortages. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Despite weeks of negotiations, the deal that was brokered by Turkey and the UN almost a year ago to allow more than 30 million tons of Ukrainian grain access to global markets officially expired on Monday. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres shared his disappointment at Russia's decision to step away from the deal.
I deeply regret the decision by the Russian Federation to terminate the implementation of the Black Sea Initiative, including the withdrawal of Russian security guarantees for navigation in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. This initiative has ensured the safe passage of over 32 million metric tons of food commodities from Ukrainian ports.
Despite Russia's decision not to renew the grains deal, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, in a video message on Monday, stressed that the deal was in agreement with Turkey and the UN, adding his belief that the agreement remains in effect and hinting that Ukraine may continue its exports despite the deal expiring.
The Black Sea Grain Initiative can and should continue to operate. If without Russia, then without Russia. The agreement on grain exports is an agreement with Turkey and the UN, and it remains in effect.
The expiration of the deal may deal a major blow to both Ukraine and countries that rely heavily on Ukraine's grains. Ukraine is one of the world's largest grain exporters. As of 2021, before the Russian invasion, it was the third largest exporter of barley, fourth largest corn exporter, and fifth largest wheat exporter worldwide, with 95% of that grain moving through Black Sea ports. Speaking at the White House on the same day, National Security Council Coordinator John Kirby called Russia's decision an act of aggression that will harm people all over the world. Before the deal was signed last year, global wheat and corn prices soared 56.5% and 15.7% on year respectively, heightening food shortages in low-income countries. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Matthew Ashley, and we now turn over to stories from around the world. Russian President Vladimir Putin has vowed to retaliate to what he called a terrorist attack on the bridge linking Crimea to Russia. Now, at least 2 people were killed and another was seriously injured in 2 blasts on Monday that Moscow has blamed on Kyiv. Russia alleges that the blasts were caused by the unmanned surface vessels. Ukraine has not claimed responsibility for the attack. Although the road on the bridge has sustained damage, its parallel railway line is still operational, and the bridge's supports have not been impacted. The bridge is vital to Moscow as it supplies Russian troops in Ukraine through the annexed Crimean peninsula. Russian officials estimate that the bridge will be fully repaired by the start of November and that one-way road travel could resume by mid-September. Now we shift our attention to Greece now, where hundreds of residents of coastal towns near Athens were forced to flee from a wildfire on Monday. The blaze broke out in the village of Kouvaras and affected nearby villages in a matter of hours. On the same day, a second fire near the capital prompted the evacuation of some 1,200 children from a summer camp alongside residents of a rehabilitation center. A third fire in a forest 30 kilometers from Athens also broke out. Firefighters, military personnel, aircraft and helicopters are currently tackling 81 fires across Greece. The wildfires have been blamed on strong winds, soaring temperatures, and a previous dry winter that has created tinderbox conditions. Now turning over to Western Australia, where a mysterious large metal cylinder has washed ashore. The object was found by local residents at Greenhead Beach over the weekend. Authorities have since confirmed that the object is not dangerous, but have asked people to stay away from it. According to experts, the copper-colored cylinder may be a fuel tank from an Indian space rocket. The cylinder is said to be around 2.5 meters wide, up to 3 meters long, and is thought to be less than 12 months old. It also appears to have sustained damage, with a large tear at the bottom. Australia's military and its space agency are among those working to confirm the object's origin and nature. And finally, a neighborhood in Florida is dealing with a number of furry invaders. As many as 100 lionhead rabbits have taken up residence in the suburbs of Fort Lauderdale. They were allegedly illegally released by a local breeder who has since moved away. But the rabbits are ill-suited for life outside in Florida, and their thick fur is not well adapted for Florida heat. Local residents are trying to raise up to $40,000 needed to bring in a rescue group that will capture, neuter, vaccinate, and shelter the rabbits until they can be given proper homes.
Good morning. It's forecast to be another day of downpours with heavy rain soaking areas that are already drenched. Those in Jeollanam-do province are seeing torrential rains this morning, and more wet clouds are moving into the Korean peninsula. The further south you are, the heavier rain you'll see. Mountainous regions on Jeju could see more than 450 millimeters of rain. The south coast could see up to 350 millimeters of massive rainfall until tomorrow. And through tonight, southern regions and the south of Gangwon-do province will see rain hammering down. Concern is on the rise as torrential rains will be dumped on already very soaked regions. A heavy rain warning remains in place across the south, with violent winds expected for the south coast and Jeju along with showers. The capital will see rain mainly during the first half of the day with an expected high of 27 degrees Celsius, which is about 4 degrees higher than yesterday. The south will see highs going down 4 to 5 degrees lower this afternoon, hovering at 27 degrees Celsius. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. Stay safe wherever you are.